Today on the Big 3 in 30, the Mavs deal Anthony Davis to the Wizards.
Elation, excited, like completely flabbergasted.
The Warriors trade for Kristaps Porzingis.
If this was 2018, I'd be jumping in jubilation.
And the Thunder get Jared McCain from the 76ers.
A stunning move that the Thunder bring in Jared McCain at the trade deadline.
This is the Big 3 in 30 NBA. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 in 30 NBA starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 in 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. It's trade deadline day, and we've already seen plenty of moves across the association the last few days. One of them sent Anthony Davis to the Wizards from the Mavs, and our Locked On hosts with both teams break down the deal.
Abdullah, your first reaction when Anthony Davis was traded to the Mavericks or traded to the Wizards was like elation, excited, like completely flabbergasted. You were excited. Has your excitement, as you've processed this, has it waned any?
No, it's still at an all-time high, Nick. I think when I saw the notification, I saw that Anthony Davis got traded, but then I clicked the whole thing and it said Washington Wizards, and I called Ben, and then his phone was getting blown up. 80 to DC, I never thought 17-year-old me would lose his mind if you would say that in 10 years that AD, or no, less than 10 years, that AD and Trae Young would be a Washington Wizard. It's still insane.
10 years ago, that may have been a good move.
Yeah, potentially.
Is he a top 5 player immediately in franchise history for the Wizards?
In franchise, like, are we considering Bullets and Wizards the same franchise,
Yeah.
right?
No. Let's leave the Bullets away. Just
Leave the Bullets away. I don't know. Are we taking AD? I guess AD's had a more illustrious career than Gilbert. Gilbert Arenas had like 3 good years. So yeah.
You counting the podcasting or just basketball?
Hey, those were some special years of basketball that I never watched. So don't
Brad
trash
Beal.
my boy Gil.
Brad Beal, John Wall, Kwame Brown, AD.
Kwame Brown.
Hey,
what about
your GOAT played for them.
Johnny Davis? Johnny Davis is one of the best.
Johnny Davis. Oh my God.
It only took 2 minutes for you guys to take shots at our Wizards.
Just like everybody has been today.
I want to say from your point, like, I thought I understand the move for Washington. Yeah, like, obviously I'm excited as a Mavs fan, but for Washington, like for you guys, even like the Wizards, like you're going for it. Like you finally, like, how do you guys feel that you've been kind of in this like purgatory land, and now you've made this like swing for not just AD but Trae Young too, to where like, yeah, the rest of the season is probably about your draft pick. But now going into next year, like, do you have like a renewed excitement going into like an off season, knowing it's like, hey, it's win now time?
I needed this really bad, honestly, just because yesterday you're sitting in Capital One Arena, the team's playing the Knicks, so obviously that means the stadium is overrun with New York Knicks fans. They're doing the F Trae Young chant in our own stadium. Trae Young's not even playing, and they're chanting that because of.
Was he there? Was he like on the bench?
Oh yeah. He's been on the bench. He's been active and energized, wearing Alex Ovechkin jerseys, paying homage to the hockey team around. Yeah, he's got a great PR team. I'll tell you that. He's done everything to make people in this city really like what he's done so far, and he hasn't even stepped on the basketball court.
Well,
Everybody in that city?
And the Wizards were his choice. Like, he wanted to go to the Wizards. That was the team he specifically picked out.
Hey, on Instagram he said preferred destination. So,
yeah.
But no, like this is definitely an energy that was needed, I think, for this fan base, because I said it last night. These are going to be a really long final 2 months of the season. We put out a G League lineup against Sacramento the other night. That game stunk as a whole firsthand. Like, it was a bad game the entirety. And I'm texting you, Nick. I'm like, there's just no way the Wizards can't lose this game. They're trying so hard to lose, and Sacramento will not lose this game. They refuse to win it. And then the Wizards go all out. Brian Keefe, masterclass. You put out a lineup of 5 players who I don't think any of them at this point in their career can create their own shot and score. And 3 of them had played in the G League game the day before for the final 16 minutes of the game. And they still won. And then you get blown out at home by the Knicks. That's fine. Like, you needed to lose the game. It was bad defense by the guys. This is going to be a long final 2 months of the season as we get to this race to the bottom here to try to get a lottery pick going forward. But this is an energy that the fan base needed, because 3 years of intentionally losing, it does a lot to a fan base that's already eroded from being mid for so many years.
Where do you guys think the Wizards are in the rebuild timeline, though? Because now it's like Trae Young and Anthony Davis. Doesn't feel like the Wizards got their number one young guy. Like, where are they in the timeline of this rebuild, in your opinion?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up. Michael Winger, in a recent press conference, talked about how we're nearing the end of the deconstruction phase, and it's only up from here. I think with the top 8 protection pick, the loaded talent with DeBonza, Peterson, Boozer, Wilson, next year is going to be expectations. And after this AD trade, it's a bare minimum that you have to make the plan. And especially if Giannis goes out west potentially, the East just gets more wide open. So it's an exciting time to be a Wizards fan. And I know the knock on AD, Anthony Day-to-Day Davis, that's the nickname that I have to get used to in our comment section from now on. It's like, for me, this team, guys, has not won 50 games in 50 years, right, Ben?
1979.
1970. Like, we had, like, the bar is so low. It's really low. And it's just excitement. It's going to be really fun. And on top,
500 record would get them actually close to, like, the best they've been in 50 years. Like, being 500 is considered, like, elite for Washington Wizards basketball. But AB touched it perfectly. Winger said in that press conference as well, we don't want to be mediocre. It's easy to be mediocre. We aspire to be bigger and better than that. So I'm treading a little bit lightly in terms of, like, how good I think they can be next year. Health would be very important. But let's say you land the 3rd pick and you take Boozer. If you have AD for at least the next year or so on this team, you have him play behind him maybe at times. And if AD is hurt, then obviously Boozer is going to get his opportunity. And Anthony Davis probably will get hurt. Like, it's not likely that he plays. It's not likely he plays over 50 games. If you can get him to play 50, I think you're in an ideal scenario. But it's kind of wishful thinking, isn't it? You could tell us more about that, though.
We were hoping for 60 at the beginning of the season, so
I'll tell you this stat. You might not know this, but he never played more than 5 games in a row for Dallas. Hopefully he gets the 6 for you guys. One of the things when you're talking about Winger and, kind of wanting to move out of that deconstruction phase, one of the things for me is, like, important is, like, the directions that teams go. And I feel like sometimes teams just are directionless. And that's where I was scared that Dallas was going to be going in this land of, like, hey, you're not really going, like, south to rebuild and get flexibility and everything, or you're not going, like, you're not healthy enough to be up here. It feels like you guys are shifting to a new direction. One of the things with AD that was about this whole situation was this extension. So for him and Trae Young, are y'all, like, comfortable with paying these guys, like, an extension coming up? I mean, I'm not going to roast you or anything, like, if you say you are. I just think this is a natural thing. Like, Rich Paul is, like, has been very open that they want an extension for Anthony Davis. Are y'all cool with that and Trae Young?
I've been, like, on the fence about the Trae Young thing, because initially when the trade was made, you have the $49 million player option. You go, okay, you're committing to 1 year of that, pretty low risk. But there could be benefits to extending Trae Young in the situation. I don't know what type of money he's going to command. Are you paying him $50 million? But what is AB or AD? I keep making this mistake right now with AB. But what is Anthony Davis going to make? $58 million next year? Is that right? I don't even have the numbers up in front of me.
Around that, yeah.
So if you're looking at extending him, then where? Like, I don't know if I'm in favor of an extension for Anthony Davis right now, because in terms of, like, what you're trying to build, and you still don't know who you're drafting at this point. Maybe this summer, if they land Darren Peterson in this draft, which they obviously won't, because the Wizards will never win the lottery ever.
Hey,
don't speak that,
we
Ben.
said that about the Mavs. The Mavs had never moved up in the lottery ever, and last year they did. Maybe that was by design.
Oh, so maybe because we traded away Marvin Bagley, that means we'll be rewarded with the first pick.
There you go.
You took on from both Atlanta and the Mavericks. You took on contracts and players that the other teams didn't want, and so maybe the NBA is gonna, they're like, all right, you guys did us a solid.
They're doing something behind the scenes for us. But no, I'm probably out on the extension right now. But I think it's gonna depend for me what happens with the draft.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same with what Ben just said. More leaning towards an extension for Trey because a pure point guard on this roster could do wonders for Keyshawn and Alex Starr. AD, I don't know. Yeah, again, the health issues, it's going to be a concern for as much as we talk about him. And I think coming up, Darren Peterson, very, very talented. I think he has shades of Anthony Edwards. The way he took over that game against BYU was just amazing. But again, this is excitement because we haven't felt it in so long. We haven't made the playoffs since 2020, if I'm not mistaken. So next season, expectations are going to be a lot different.
It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count because after the Super Bowl, the season, it's over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 NBA. The Warriors added Kristaps Porzingis to the roster while dealing Jonathan Kuminga, and Locked On Warriors host Charlie Walter tells us what Porzingis will bring to Golden State.
Let's break this thing down. It's breaking. Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield, out of Golden State, coming back, Kristaps Porzingis. If this was 2018, I'd be jumping in jubilation, but it's 2026. And I have very, very mixed reviews about this trade. Leave your thoughts in the comments on YouTube, wherever you listen to your audio podcast. We appreciate you for hanging out with us today. All right, man. Is Giannis watch over? That's another wrinkle that we have to get into. But one of the big pieces that the Warriors have been holding out for a long time was Kuminga. And if you look at it from this perspective, Malik Monk or Kristaps Porzingis healthy, you're taking Kristaps Porzingis every single time. The issue is he's currently hurt. He's played 17 games this season. His numbers are a career low, or at least dating back to his rookie year. His 17 points per game are as low as they've been since 2016. He's now on the other side of 30. He has not played more than 60 games since 2023. He hasn't played more than 70 games since his rookie year in 2016. He played 42 a season ago, 57. Availability is your best ability. And for a team that has struggled with available players, this seems like somewhat of a head-scratching trade for the Warriors. What's your initial reaction, Mike?
Initial reaction, Chuck, is at least they did something. And I think ultimately, look, JK wasn't getting burned with this team. Buddy Hield was in and out of the rotation. If you can keep your fingers crossed and maybe Rick can do a little bit of work with Kristaps, it's something that you're flipping two guys who weren't playing for a guy who has the chance to get a lot of minutes and contribute and really add to that center rotation. He can protect the rim. He finishes very well from the post, gives the Warriors a different look. They know that they've been struggling with finishing inside the paint. And you get a guy in Kristaps who, if healthy, which is the big if, I'm not discounting that whatsoever, but you can give him the ball in the low block. And if you look at that, his championship season with Boston, he was finishing post-ups at like 65, 67%. And so incredibly efficient. And that's a look the Warriors haven't had in a very long time. So you think, okay, we get a little bit of upside here. Issue is he's not under contract for next season, I don't believe. So will the Warriors bring him back? Will they re-sign him? I think you would hope so, given this move. Are they going to reroute him elsewhere? Maybe. But ultimately, look, you're trading two guys who weren't really getting quality minutes for a guy who has the potential to, jumping ahead to next season. If you project and think, okay, this is the move, this is that tertiary piece that they're going for, hopefully, quote unquote, reliable stretch five who can protect the rim and score inside. You traded two guys who in a playoff series they're probably not going to be in your closing lineup to get a guy who's going to be in your closing lineup in a playoff game. He fits well with Draymond. People can gripe and complain whether or not Draymond should still be here. But ultimately, the Warriors did something. They got a guy who has value. They kind of closed the chapter on the Kuminga saga, which, for some people in Dub Nation, they will still
They're
have
now Atlanta Hawks fans.
Yeah, they're now Atlanta Hawks fans. Some people might, bring the pitchforks out to one Warriors way. But ultimately, look, you shipped out two guys who weren't going to play and weren't playing and in consistent form by any means for a guy who has the potential to be a starting center for you and to give you maybe 20 points a game, knock down some shots. So, it's something I think we can debate whether or not the process by which the Warriors got to this point was the most efficient and the most judicious, using Steph's end of his career. But if you think about this projecting to next season, if they hope to get Jimmy back at 90% of what he was this year, then the roster looks better than it did prior to this move. So I think it's something that you think, okay, we didn't trade out draft capital. Giannis probably isn't going to be moved. Are they going to try and make a swing for him this offseason? Who knows, right? So, that's kind of my initial take, is at least they did something. And this could have upside into next season if they retain him on the roster.
Yeah, my question is, does this lead into the Giannis trade? Is Porzingis, as you mentioned, going to be rerouted because Trayce Jackson-Davis was traded to the Raptors for a draft pick? It looks like a 2026 second-round pick via the Lakers. So when you're sending him out, you wouldn't think that would be the plan, right? Get rid of two centers with Trayce, and then if you were trading Porzingis as well, that would really deplete the depth there. So you would have to think that this is kind of for real. I'm still a little bit baffled. Now, the runway has been cleared. Porzingis is healthy. He's ready to go. He's going to make you better than you were 15 hours ago against the Sixers, which isn't necessarily saying much, but the powder is dry in terms of the Giannis trade because you do have Jimmy Butler is that trade asset, and you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I think the notion was that Podziemski, Draymond, and Kuminga was what was offered to the Bucks. Maybe they turned that down. Maybe they wanted Jimmy Butler in that trade, and that thing's still alive to be decided.
And
TBD?
and Chuck, look, let's peel the onion one more layer.
Don't give up hope.
Yeah, let's peel the onion one more layer on something that you were just talking about, right? And this is assuming that the Dubs are still in the Giannis hunt, right? The trade deadline hasn't hit. I imagine they still are, right? That's their white whale. That's who they're going after. They acquired another pick through TJD. Sure, it's a second, but it's still more draft capital, right? And do you think that, okay, maybe the thought is if we get Porzingis and if we can reroute Jimmy to Milwaukee with more picks now or with an additional pick, and then you think now you're looking at something where you have that stretch five that can play alongside Giannis. Does that entice Giannis a little bit more for this interim period to come and play for the Warriors instead of having to wait for Jimmy next year? Potentially that could be in the calculus, right? To try and entice Giannis to come and play for Golden State, because ultimately I think that's what was the big hang up. But I agree. I think you just brought up that clip there saying that the Giannis hunt is done. I think he's not going to be moved by tomorrow, but it kind of is what it is now for the Warriors, right? They put their chips all in to try and go for Giannis, and it didn't work out.
Kristaps Porzingis. If you want to look at it glass half full, though, Kuminga had to be traded. We all know this. Even the biggest of Kuminga fans that also support the Warriors, you knew that bygones were kind of bygones there. He was out the door a month ago until Butler got hurt, and you brought him back into the rotation. So when you look at it from that perspective, and when you look at it from the perspective of Buddy Hield has been having a historically terrible season. He's been awful. And, the Jimmy and Alfred dynamic, that's no more, at least this season. So to trade two guys that weren't helping you at all regardless for someone that at the very least, when healthy, is good, is a little bit intriguing. The issue with the intrigue is that the IN is the same IN that starts with injuries. And it has been the story of the Unicorn's career. Now, in his best seasons, he's going to give you 20 points. He's going to give you 10 rebounds, a double-double. I mean, what are the shooting numbers on Porzingis? He's got a really good stroke for someone his size, and honestly can straight line drive to the bucket. He's 7'2". He, let's see, shooting numbers over the course of his career from three are at 36%. He was a 41 3% shooter last year on volume. He took 6 a game. Has not been below 36% from three since 2020. So, like, the guy can stretch the floor. He's definitely better than Quentin Post. You've upgraded at a position, and it did not cost you any of your draft capital. If you want to look at it from a glass half full perspective, that is the perspective you should be looking at.
It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season, it's over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 NBA. The Thunder already have a championship-level team, but they still decided to add Jared McCain from the 76ers at the deadline. Rylan Stiles tells us why OKC made the move on Locked On Thunder.
The Oklahoma City Thunder's trade deadline move, a stunning move that the Thunder bring in Jared McCain at the trade deadline. And we're here with Derek Parker, DPark OK on social media, Derek Dash Parker on YouTube, which this trade involves the draft in a big way. And we were both very high on Jared McCain coming out of the draft. Derek, he was our guy. We were circling him for Oklahoma City back during his 2024 NBA draft. And now he's in OKC, and the trade from Shams Charania, of course, will not tell the full story yet, because it has not been, as of the time that we're recording this, it has not been officially announced yet by the team. So all we know right now from Shams Charania is that Philadelphia is trading Jared McCain to Oklahoma City for a 2026 Houston Rockets first-round pick and 3 second-round picks. Derek, just that Shams notification, how did it hit you for this team?
I'm feeling a little extra juice from you first off today, Rylan. You're amped up. I'm loving it. It hit pretty hard, I would say. I don't think anybody was expecting this level of move. We figured that there would be something around the fringes. I would say this is a step up from that. This is a player that looked like a rookie of the year candidate, a calendar year ago. And obviously he suffered the injury in his first season, and that's really hampered this second season. But I mean, the graphic here says it all. This is a pretty massive move in terms of moves that we thought the Thunder would make. Jared McCain is a big, big get. And I understand the draft capital that they sent out to get him.
Yeah, I totally understand the draft capital. Look, we both love the draft. We both love Jared McCain in this draft of 2024. We both love the 2026 draft. But the thing is, right, they already have or had up to 3 selections in the 2026 NBA draft. Now they sit with 2, the Clippers and funny enough, the Sixers pick, which they did not give the Sixers their own pick back. They gave the Sixers the Houston pick back, which there's a bit of a gap there between where those 2 picks are. The Sixers are at pick 18. Houston is down at pick 26, which now goes to Philadelphia instead of Oklahoma City. At pick 26, you're not going to find someone who can do the things that Jared McCain can do. And I think that that's where Houston is going to remain, somewhere in the 26-27 range for the rest of this season. So I think that this is a best case scenario for that draft asset, is to get a guy like Jared McCain.
you're at least not going to find someone that can plug in as quick as Jared McCain. Could you get a talented player there? Sure. Like, is Philadelphia probably going to go get a decent player, or flip that to a team who could go draft a decent player in a deep draft? Yes. Are they going to be as ready as Jared McCain is with NBA experience already under his belt? You know, he's a high field player. He's going to be able to plug in pretty seamlessly immediately. So, yeah, we talk about kicking these picks down the road to go and get players. This is kind of the adverse of that, where, you know, now they're flipping this pick for a player that has a little bit under his belt, albeit with a lot of room to grow moving forward too.
Yeah, and the second round picks are just nothing. I mean, and I don't say that flippantly. This is why you go get $1 billion second round picks, is because at the trade deadline, the second round picks, they are the sweetener to get a deal done. And they push this deal over the finish line by giving them 3 second round picks. And guess what? The Thunder still have approximately 2.3 billion second round picks moving forward. Like, so they're still fine on the second round pick front. Also, want to make a quick note. Obviously, the Wizards got AD today, and Shams put out the tweet about how they got a Thunder pick. People have been confused by that. The Wizards already own that Thunder pick heading into today. The Thunder are not involved in that trade. It's a separate transaction, just like Houston is not involved in this trade, but it is Houston's pick that Oklahoma City already owned. So with Jared McCain, I think that he immediately helps this team. And why this move is so stunning, Derek, is because heading into the trade deadline, we've had many a pods, many a live streams, many a articles about what we expected Oklahoma City to do. Move on from Ousmane Dieng, get an insurance big man, maybe. Maybe they just get a nothing burger for Ousmane Dieng. Maybe they just attach 2 seconds to him and get a Dayron Sharp, right? A rental. And instead, they get a guy who is going to take up a roster spot next year. Like, this is someone who has already had his club option picked up, of course, by Philadelphia, which transfers to Oklahoma City, $4.4 million next year, and $6.7 million the year after that in a club option before he hits restricted free agency. But the Thunder are not going to flippantly give away a first-round pick to not have him on the team next year. That'd be stunning. So this is a guy that they clearly value and clearly want around long-term, and we already know about the impending roster crunch that Oklahoma City is staring down. And obviously, for this sake of the pod, by the time that many of you listen to this, you probably already know the result, but the Thunder do have to move on from Oos in some capacity to make this trade work, either by trading him or by waiving him. They have too many guys on the roster. They need a roster spot open. So Oos is going to leave, but it's gonna be, however it gets sorted out, will end up being the intake versus outtake will be Oos left, Jared McCain's here now. And Derek, I think that Jared McCain does everything that this Thunder team really needs from a player. And I do agree with you that he can plug in and he can be someone that helps his team right away. But I think that even next year will be an even bigger opportunity for him to help the team versus just this last half of this season. But Derek, he is at 1.156 points per possession as a pick and roll ball handler. He's 40% as a catch and shoot shooter. And on shot quality shots above the 80th percentile, he shoots 52%. Those are 3 ways that the Thunder should maximize him in the flow of their normal offense. And I think that those are part of the skills that you see why Oklahoma City is valuing him so highly.
100%. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with, we were expecting this time period right now, this trade deadline, to kind of function around maybe cutting players or at least, opening up spots for the future. Now you have a player that I would be shocked if they didn't want around for the future. So you're totally right on that point. And then on Jared McCain and just the skill set in general, again, you hit on the major points here. He's a player that is so pluggable on offense. He has one of the quickest, more replicable 3-point shots I've seen in the time that I've done the draft process. His 3-point shot is really, really solid, like very good mechanically. He can do no dip. He can do it off screen. He can do it on the movement. This is a guy that shot, I believe, 58% in transition with the Duke Blue Devils through his one season. That's pretty incredible. He's lightning quick. And then you talk about the secondary playmaking, the pick and roll stuff. Not a lot of creation given his limited athleticism, but certainly a player that you could look to when you get past the Shea minutes, past AJ minutes, that, could do these different actions with Isaiah Hartenstein. He's going to be a real weapon for Isaiah Hartenstein, Jay Will, these type of players. So yeah, totally agree. He is such a seamless fit immediately and for the future with this Thunder team.
Yeah, I really buy. So, we've like texted about this move before we hopped on here. I agree with you that like he's not some dynamite shot creator. But I do buy that the upside as a shot creator off the dribble, especially like looking at how he can get to a 3-pointer off the dribble. I buy that long term, maybe not this season, but long term for Jared McCain. And I think that this Thunder team is going to be a great landing spot for him. But whenever I look at this move, I do value this as a playoff changing move for Oklahoma City.
That's all for today's Big 3 in 30 NBA. If you follow football or college sports, the Big 3 in 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NFL and on campus going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 in 30 NFL or the Big 3 in 30 college wherever you're listening or watching now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 3 in 30 NBA.